This conference will now be recorded.
Everyone, your best behavior. We're being recorded. Okay, so we are starting Shar Avodas Elokim, the gateway of serving Hashem. Perek Dalit, the fourth chapter. What page we have over there? 180. No, wait. You guys have the same thing. 264.
This is volume 1. I bet you took the 13.
Okay, page 264. Page 264 in that.
213.
213 in that. And
Chapter 4 on Safari.
in Safari, chapter 4, number 1. Good. Okay. B'roi lanu levaer. And he begins, it is proper for us to explain Surat Ha'ara HaToriyot. What is this essence of this Ha'ara HaToriyah? Meaning that the Torah is what is moving us and guiding us to serve Hashem. The Chelkei HaTorah, the different parts of it. Uma'alot Anshei HaChachma, and the different levels that one will bring to the table when it comes to this. U'techunatam, ve'emunatam ba, v'kibaltem ota. When we're talking about those who have their Torah wisdom, so you have tchunatam, their actual, how wise are they? Ve'emunatam ba, right? To what degree is a person ascribing, signing up for this? V'kibaltem ota, right? And not just, thinking the thought and talking the talk, but as we say, walking the walk, right? How much is a person mikabel, accepting, be mekayem, fulfilling it? V'omer, and we'll begin and say, ki ahara Torah hi chazon me'et ha'elukim. The Torah, as we understand it, is this prophecy, is this vision, is this message, me'et ha'elokim, coming to us from God. As we always say, every religion needs to have its revelation narrative. Otherwise, how do we down here have any clue what this God that we're believing in up there wants us to do? So there needs to be this revelation narrative. And as we mentioned, that Judaism is unique in that the revelation did not come to a single individual or a few disciples, but it came to the nation as a whole. But the Torah is chazon me'et ha'elukim. It is this vision, this teachings from God, al yidei ish mibnei adam, that came to a person, mi b'nei adam. What do you think he might be referring to when he says a person who is a son of people? Right? Clearly, I think this is a little bit of a jab towards Christianity. Right? It's a person who is a person. In our Parsha class, when we begin Shemot, we always point out the Torah goes to great lengths to say there was a man from the house of Levi who married a woman from the house of Levi. She became pregnant. She conceived. And that child was Moshe. Right? There was no nothing
divine about it.
Yeah. Certainly God partners it was no more divine than every birth that takes place. There was nothing immaculate going on over here. It was, because if Moshe was immaculate, right? So then how can we become, right? Who are we? We don't stand a chance. But no, he was a human being like each and every one of us. So it came al yidei ish mi b'nei Adam, b'mashu tov be'einav mehem avodato, letting us know that which is good in his, capital H, in this God's eyes, me'avodato, in our serving of him. Ligmalam, in order that he will then give us al kabbalata, on our accepting of this, gumul, recompense, we'll say, ba'olam hazeh, u'ba'olam haba, both in this world and in the next world. Chesed unedava v'tova. This is fantastic, right? Right? Anything that God gives us anywhere because of the avodah that we do is chesed, kindness, nidava, freebie, gift, tova, emanating from God's goodness. As we've explained many times, and we had in earlier chapters, right? That for all that God is giving us, whatever we do can never actually say, oh, now God owes me, right? You know, the famous Gemara where the Gemara says, a person says, I put on tefillin every day. Oh, who gave you the arm? Right? I have a mezuzah on every door of my house. Who gave you a house? Right? And all that we have, the gifts that we have every moment, so overwhelm on the scale anything that we are doing. So if God is going to be giving us sechar, reward, recompense in this world and the next world for any avoda that we do, so that is going to be nidava, chesed, and tova, as he calls it. That is just unearned bounty that God showers down on us. I recently heard that that someone once listened by the door of the Chafetz Chaim, and the Chafetz Chaim was saying, Hashem, God, you've done so much for me. You've enabled me to write the Mishnah Brura, which is a beautiful, beautiful, incredible, epic work on halacha, taking one of the four parts of Shulchan Aruch, of Code of Jewish Law, the day-to-day, whether it's davening, brachot, Shabbos, holidays, you name, right? That's called Orach Chaim, and breaking it down so beautifully for us. You enabled me to write the Mishnah Brura. You enabled me to write the Chafetz Chaim, the book on Shmirat HaLashon, the Halach compendium on the laws of speech, what we can and can't say. You enabled me to write, right? You've done so much for me. What can I do for you? Like we would imagine, like, hey, God, I wrote the Mishnah Brura. I wrote the Chafetz Chaim. You enabled me to do this. What can I now do for you? Right? You've done everything for me. What can I do for you? It's just such a beautiful way of looking at it. You've enabled me to do whatever I've done. Thank you. That's such a gift. Now, what can I do for you? HaTorah choleket maaseh b'nei Adam, and the Torah divides the actions of humankind l'shlosha chalakim, into three categories. Sivoy, commands, that which we are commanded to do. Azhara, warning, that which we are told not to do. Vimutar, and that which we are allowed to do. It's not obligated, it's not prohibited. It's all of that that is in the middle, right? It's very interesting. We know mitzvah means, right? Not gets commanded a good deed, right? Mitzvah means commandment. The mitzvah also comes from the root word tzava, tzavata, which is which is accompaniment, right? It's a flash point. It's a connection point. So we have the mitzvot, we have the tzivoy, azhara, and we have mutar. Yes, do, don't do, and that which is in the middle. Okay. 1 second. Vatzivoy mitchalek l'shnei chalakim. The tzivoy part is divided into two categories. Echad mehem mitzvot halevavot. The mitzvot of our hearts, of our thoughts, of our feelings. The heim hadvarim, these are the things that sheyitkanu be'emunah halev. And these are placed upon the faith onto one's heart. Like examples, yichud hakel, accepting the absolute oneness of God. Now, remember that that's not something that we struggle with, but his whole first shar that we typically skip because it deals with a lot of philosophy, some that is still accepted, some that's not so accepted, but typically that's not learned. But the first gate was shar hayichud, right? The oneness of God. Ve'yot halev shalem imo, and that our heart should be shalem, full with Him, meaning recognizing, as we say, ein od milvado, that there is none besides God. Right? And that's a little bit harder because we put a lot of faith in different people and different situations as opposed to having our faith fully with Hashem. Ubatuach alav, and having that confidence in Him that whatever comes our way is for a reason and it's for our best. That's the bitachon. Right? Amuna is what I say I believe. Bitachon is when the stuff happens, how do I then react? Right? I told the story before, but it's worth it. My brother Lava Shalom, who was an amazing person. So he worked in catering, and he made a living. He was never wealthy. He worked very hard and he struggled a lot. And his son-in-law told this story that there was a new person who moved to Baltimore who wanted to go into catering. So what did my brother Josh do? He sits him down and he says, this is where you get this is where you get that, this is where you rent this is where you rent that, these suppliers are good, these suppliers, this is what you want to do, right? He gave him basically his whole Rolodex, as we would say, right? How to do catering in Baltimore. So his son-in-law he said to him, Abba, are you not struggling enough that you have to roll out the red carpet, right, for another competitor over here? And I quote him what he said, what my brother Josh said to him. He said, "Oh, thank you for reminding me that Hashem can't possibly give me parnasa and another Jewish family parnasa at the same time. And certainly my not doing a chesed for this person, that's what will open up the gate of Hashem sending me bracha and my parnasa. Thanks for reminding me." So that's that's not just talking the talk, but that is the bitachon. That is that faith. That listen, I need to make my efforts, but ultimately it's coming from Hashem. I can make my efforts. I can open the faucet. Whatever comes out, that I don't control. And the more good I do, the better chance I have at good stuff coming out. Just on another great Josh story, there was he was doing a wedding, and this rabbi came for the wedding. The problem was the rabbi he came from Lakewood. The rabbi got dropped off for the wedding. The only problem was the wedding was not Sunday night. That was a different wedding. The wedding he was supposed to go to was Monday night. So now he's stuck in Baltimore, about 2.5, 3 hours from Lakewood, right? So my brother said to him, "Oh, listen, here, take my car. I don't need the car. Take the car, go home, and you come back tomorrow night for the wedding, and you give me back the keys." The guy said, "You're going to do that without even knowing who I am?" So he said, "Should I be worried?" He said, "You don't even know if I know how to drive. Do you know how to drive?" "Yes, I do know how to drive." "Okay, so go." So, and he never got his name. And every year, this rabbi would call my brother before Rosh Hashanah to wish him a good year, and he never knew who it was. But in his phone, he saved the phone number as Rabbi Carr Lakewood. So that when he would call, he'd say, "Oh, hi, Shalom Aleichem, how are you?" Without who is this? He knew who was calling, though he never got his name. Yeah, but that's the bitachon that we
Not many
yeah.
people would do that.
No.
Really.
No.
I mean, even if it is a rabbi, you hope that they're
I don't
Yeah.
think many people would still do that.
Yeah,
That's
it's a big thing.
I saw Rabbi Ciner do that. Offered his. Oh yeah,
I learned it from my brother probably. V'himaser elav, right? And giving ourselves over to Hashem, right? That recognizing, as we like to say, that we're in God's hands. And they say, a Jew is never lost. He might not be where he planned to be, but he's not lost. He's there for a reason, right? That's himaser elav, to recognize that we're in whatever predicament we're in, and then we go from there. But we are like the old Allstate commercial, right? You're in good hands. V'ratzot b'gzeirato, and to want to willingly accept those gezerot, those decrees. Ve'he'amen, and believing, having our trust b'neviyav, in God's prophets who have delivered His words to us, u'v'torato, and His Torah. V'ro oto, and to be in awe of Him. U'shemor mitzvotav, and to do our best to safeguard, to fulfill those His mitzvot. Uv'machshava b'fliotav, something we discuss a lot, to be in wonder of His wonders, right? To have our eyes open and to appreciate this incredible world that we are in and the incredible gifts that He gives us. V'habechina b'tovosav, His wonders, and to recognize and to feel, to sense b'tovotav, all the good that He does for us. V'harbe kazeh, right? These are some examples of the do of the hearts, the tzivui, the commands, the positive commands of the hearts. And then there's many, many more that we can go into. Umehen. And then the second category then is mitzvot halevavot va'evarim yachtav. Those mitzvot that go, it's beautiful how he puts this. He doesn't put it as the do mitzvot, right? He puts it the mitzvot of the hearts and our limbs, right? Our hearts and our limbs. Meaning we don't want to be just doing mitzvot rote as just our limbs. There are those that are just in the heart, and there are those that are the heart and the limbs. The mitzvot that we do, but there needs to be that livavi, that heart aspect of it also. Yachtav, it needs to be together. Ki yichud halashon im halev. Right? Interesting, the first one that he brings up is that our words should match our feelings, to not be dishonest, right? To not be dishonest. Our hearts and our hearts and our mouth must align. So we never allowed, right? If we would always be perfectly, let me say brutally honest, because honesty ends up being brutal, right? We would not be able to function in this world. I remember years ago in Reader's Digest, a wife asked the husband, "Do I look too fat in this dress?" "No, sweetie, you look just fat enough." Right? Right? You have to be careful, and we can't, there's tact, right? And actually we learned that from Hashem and Avraham and Sarah. There is a concept of mishanin mipnei hashalom, that we don't need to be brutally honest when we want to engender shalom, peace. Right? We learn that out, that after Hashem, the travelers, the angels who were there as travelers, said that in a year you'll have a child, told Avram and Sarah was by the door. She overheard it. She laughed. Hashem says to Avram, and Sarah said, right, how can I have a child? Right, right, and
he's as good as dead.
Right, and my husband is old, right? Now when Hashem relate to Avram. Why did Lama Zetzachaka Sarah, right? Why did Sarah laugh to say, Ha'af umnam ele, can I give birth? Va'ani zakanti. Hashem said, she said, and I am so old. Right? She had said both. Hashem left out the part about Avram being old. Now, I would imagine that, please God, when I hit 99, if I would overhear Natalie saying, my husband's a bit old, I imagine I would not be all that offended. I would not be too deeply offended. Who you calling old? I mean, at that age, yeah.
But since they lived, I always thought of this. If they lived to be like 600 years old back then or whatever, maybe 100's pretty spry.
Well, it wasn't, because she said, how can I possibly, how can, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Acharei below T, after I've already gotten worn out, Haitali Adna, can I have that glow again of youth to have children, right? So yeah. The earlier generations before the flood, that's true. But at this point already,
like 120 Moses, right?
well, we weren't quite there yet, but Avram lived to 175.
Oh, okay. So
right?
it wasn't 600.
Yeah. So
white lies are okay
for shalom, yeah, we have to be careful. We don't want to overuse that license. But when it's for shalom, yeah. So we can be tactful. When the husband's getting ready for the wedding and he's ready, to go out to the dinner, and he's been ready for 45 minutes because it took him 3 minutes to get ready. But how does this look, sweetheart? You look beautiful. Let's go. Yeah. So yeah, but in general, there needs to be that yichud halashon im halev, the heart, to not mislead people, right? To be a person of honesty, a person of integrity. Actually, we just saw that we had it a few parshas ago, but in this week's parsha, Vayigash Elav Yehuda. So the Orach Chaim is a beautiful explanation that when Yehuda is drawing close to his coming, why would he Vayigash? He spoke to him. What's Vayigash Elav? He gives a number of explanations, but one of them is that he drew close with him in his heart. He knew that if his words were going to have an effect on Joseph, he had to feel a kinship towards him. He had to feel a closeness to him. And he worked on himself to feel, we also had that earlier, that when Yaakov was meeting up with Esav, it says that he bowed down ad gishto, I meant this past I think I mentioned this, ad gishto ad achiv, until he had drawn close to his brother. He needed to feel that brotherhood with, So we want to try to get the heart and mouth aligned.
So, Rabbi, it's okay to tell the truth, but maybe not the whole truth, and nothing but the
Or
truth.
just tactfully.
Tell
the truth in a nice way.
We need to be tactful. Look, there's times that a person needs to hear something, right? But even then, one needs to do it in as kind a manner as one can. Constructive criticism. It has to construct, right? It can't be something that's going to tear someone down. Yeah.
It says, ייחוד הלשון עם הלב הוא קריאת ספר התורה ולימודו והתפילה. So for example, is the tongue, the lashon, does it get like a special, like a holy tafkid, a holy job, because it executes all the other?
That's interesting. The Chofetz Chaim, right? Kathy, I don't think you heard. So, right. So, Leah was saying the mouth is used for tefillah, for prayer, right? Does it have a special status, right? So the Chofetz Chaim says that really we should have been given two mouths. One for the mundane stuff, I'll have that with a little extra, some extra lettuce and onions on my burger, and the other for tefillah and for prayer, right? The problem with the concern was that we would use it, and using both of them for lashon hara, for other things. But he definitely speaks about that idea that you want to make sure that the mouth that is right. So that actually,
It's kind of loud out there.
Yeah.
Rabbi, you good? Okay.
Is this where the rabbi is going to talk? Or no? The
Yeah.
Ciner Hakon, is he going to be here?
Yes,
Or in
it's
the
going to be downstairs here. It's going to be downstairs here now. They
Here?
changed it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So to recognize that, you don't want to go with a dirtied mouth before Hashem. I remember I was running a boys' sleepaway camp in Israel. So when I have to give the if kids will be using some not the most uplifted of language and terms, right? So I would say to them, I said, you daven so beautifully. I see how you daven so beautifully, and you learn so beautifully, right? But how can you have that same mouth that's going to be standing before Hashem? How can you use that same mouth for this, sewer sort of stuff, and then stand before Hashem, right? So definitely there is that aspect of recognizing that if I'm going to use this, there's I would give them a parable of a person coming.
Did it change then? A little bit?
Maybe. I would give the parable of a person giving the most incredible gem before the king, but presenting it in a toilet bowl, sitting on top of some
Oh no.
some whatever.
Two videos.
Right?
Wow.
Well, I was hoping to make an impression on the kids, right? But yeah. So yeah.
Sure, it did make
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah. So certainly, as you're saying, the next thing he mentions is Kriyat Sefer Torah, reading the Sefer Torah, limudo, learning the Torah, tefillah, prayer, hatzom, fasting, tzedakah, giving tzedakah, right? And all these things so interesting. Like I like certainly tefillah, yeah, that's the lave, that's the heart and the limbs together, right? But tzedakah, it needs to be the heart and the limbs together. Meaning, how am I doing it? How am I making that person feel? Am I lifting that person up? Am I dismissing that person? There's so much that goes into besides just the avarim, just besides the limbs. Vashvita min hamasim b'shavatot u'b'moadim. And abstaining from certain activities during the Shabbos and during the holidays. V'asot sukkah, and making that sukkah. Lulav, tzitzit, v'adom lezeh. So those are the two categories in what he calls the tzivoy, that which we're commanded to do, whether it's those in our hearts or whether it is our hearts and our limbs partnering. V'ha'azhara, and then of course we have that which we are the mitzvot lo ta'aseh, that which we are warned against doing. Mitchaleket gam kein l'shnei chalakim, also divided into two categories, right? And in general, we understand that if this is, as he said before, this prophecy that came to us, so God is letting us know these things will build a connection with me, and these things will sever, will interrupt, will interfere with a relationship with me. That's basically what we have. Our mitzvot aseh and mitzvot lo taseh. The dues are things that will build a relationship, and the lo taseh are things that will get in the way. The Maharal says very interestingly, the way we have it broken down, we have 248 positive commands and 365 negative commands. And the 248 correspond, the sages divide the body, I don't know biologically exactly how they do this, into 248 parts, right? And the 365, of course, is the solar year, 365 days. So Maharal explains along those lines that the mitzvah aseh is that which we do in order to build a connection, right? and that is represented by the 248 parts of the body. That's what we do. Whereas the year, the world, right, the 365, that's what exists, right? That's something that we do. That's what is. And therefore the Lotus says don't get in the way of, don't sever, don't interrupt that which is available for you. So the Azhara also, mitchaleket gamkein lishnei chalakim, also divided to two groups. Echa mehem Chovot Halevavot. One of them is again the Chovot Halevavot, the namesake of this sefer, the obligations of the heart. Vasheni Chovot Ha'evarim. Once again, that's the obligation that goes onto the Evarim, onto the limbs. V'hazhara, examples of the warnings by Chovot Halevavot, kashituf im ha-bore be'seter, right? Not to think that there is any partnership along with God. And again, we're not just talking about in a more global sense, a trinity or something like that, but ascribing power to something beyond Hashem. Uvechonef, or sorry?
I don't really understand what it means. כששיתוף עם הבורא בסדר. What does it? Can you?
Yes. So shituf means a partnership. So on one hand, right, we have religions that present this partnership, right, a trinity, right? There's one, three, one, however they want to do the math. But in a more practical sense for us, it's that we sometimes will ascribe power beyond God. For example, right? If we do something that is financially not so straight, so then basically we are cutting God out of the equation. Because if we were true ma'aminim, true believers, we'd say, there's no way I'm going to gain anything by going against what Hashem wants, what Hashem commanded. But we ascribe some power to that extra money I'll make by doing this or not doing that. So we do a good amount of, we all struggle with that. Maybe I struggle with that, right? I'm bringing you guys down, right? But I think we all struggle. We all struggle with that, to be really consistent without any shituf. The famous story in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was on his deathbed, and his students came to him and said, Rebbe, give us a bracha. And the bracha he said was, you should fear Hashem as much as you fear people. And they said to him, Rebbe, we should fear Hashem a lot more than we fear people. And he said, Halavai. He said, but if you've ever looked over your shoulder before you did something to make sure that no one was watching, then clearly that's as clear a proof as possible that we fear people more than we fear Hashem. So that's, I think, all part of this shituf. And that's the next thing he mentions also. Uvechonef. Doing things, chonef is actually flattery, right? So doing things that I shouldn't be doing, but I'm doing it, because I want people to admire me. I want people to, I've said often, sometimes, you have a good line to say, right? But it's going to embarrass someone, right? But everyone's going to say, oh, that was so funny, So sometimes, right, chonef, we decide to do what we shouldn't do in order to get acclaim from others. Va'avat osot Moshe is here, hakel mila soto. Or this is even in the heart, loving something that God said we shouldn't. It's not even talking about doing it now. Right? This is still in the heart. V'haga'ava. Right? Gava is haughtiness. He has three words here. I don't know the difference between them. He has gava, gova, and gaon. Right?
Gaon, like genius?
Well, yes, a Gaon, like the Vilna Gaon, that does mean genius.
Yeah.
But I think they're all terms of. Does the English have any? Does it give us three terms?
Gova is like Gvalev, is also like a very.
It's also
Gava.
haughtiness. It's
Yes.
like I'm trying to know the difference between Ga'ava, Gova, and Gaon.
Arrogance, haughtiness, and pride.
Arrogance, haughtiness,
And
and pride.
See that?
Okay. I wait. I don't know. I don't know arrogance and haughtiness. The difference. Pride is something, right? I might not be arrogant, but I might, right? I think arrogance and haughtiness is something that often shows out in how I am dismissive or raising myself over others. So maybe, yeah.
Safaria says pride, haughtiness, and arrogant contempt.
Yeah, contempt.
Okay.
So it's got those two
Contempt.
flips.
Okay, all right.
Also mocking the prophets.
Oh, we'll get to that soon.
Oh.
Right? We'll get. I'll just say these three words. So okay, so there is, well, there certainly is arrogance with contempt, right? There's arrogance where it's not contempt for others, but it is all about me. And then there is that I'm not even presenting myself like that, but I am internally, I've got a lot of pride. Now, a person, right, right. What's wrong with being proud? Right? But I think there's a difference, even in English, between being proud and pride. I don't know. Pride could sometimes be a little bit.
Show offy.
It's more like separating yourself from someone else if you're feeling superiority.
A feeling superiority. Yeah. Yeah. I hear that, Steve. Yeah. So I might not be showing, yeah, I could be, well, it's interesting, right? Yeah.
An accomplishment should give you some pride.
Yeah. If you do
As long as you
something
don't go
well,
around bragging.
yeah. Well, I guess if you do something well, it's okay to feel proud of the way you handled something, right?
Thinking of that kind of pride is
Yeah.
distinguishing maybe a different type of pride that is a little more insidious.
Right, but even that, I mean, I'm thinking back to the story about the Chavetz Chaim, right? He wasn't proud of the fact that he wrote all these things, right? All these epic, monumental works, right? His sense was, Hashem, you've given me the ability to do this, right? But even so, I think I could feel proud that I, I utilized the gifts that God gave me. I utilized that well in that situation. Yeah, I think, I'm sure at a certain level, a person would not have any. I'm not sure.
But then you
It can cross the line. I'm sorry.
a gratefulness to Hashem to enable you to even do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's tricky. There's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff.
It can easily slide over into, wow, I am
All
I
that.
I am all that.
I
Yeah.
felt like if I was proud of something that happened, like with my son or something, I always felt like I could tell my sister and my mom, and that's it. Like I never felt like I could tell my friends because I felt like that. Okay, that's bragging. But
Yeah.
my mom, and my sister, I'm like, well, they're family, so I could share.
Yeah.
That's a different.
And it's gonna make them happy. Yeah.
Because we're family.
Yeah. I hear that.
I don't
Yeah. Look, there are gradations over here. Ubazot b'nei Adam, or embarrassing other people. Ula oglin v'yim, or mocking the neviim, the prophets. Uldvarim habaim, or the words that came me'elokim from God out to them on their tongues. Umaos b'tov anashav, or this person, he's such a goody person. It drives me crazy. This, umitzvah umitzo korat ruach b'marayim, or really enjoying getting pleasure out of marayim, out of those who are doing bad. Though I have to admit, when I'm flying on Southwest, I do like watching. They have a show there. It's a show about like these people who are con artists. I forget what it's called, right?
With William R. Macy.
Huh?
With William Macy.
I don't know, but they have these different scam artists, right? And I know. I get a kick out of how
Because
people.
they're so smart.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't enjoy that so much. Yeah. Makina, jealousy, chemda, desiring others, avat harav bnei adam, wishing bad on others, hitkatseif al gzeirat borei, being angry about what God has decreed, barbei kazeh. However, chovot, I just want to try to get to a good point because we're almost out of time. Chovot ha'ivarim, the obligations on the limbs, on the don't side, is hamuzar mehan, that which we're warned from doing. Hashituch mabori begiloi, that's not just beseta, but actively idolatry in involving ourselves in this shituf with God. Shvuat sheker, swearing falsely. Kazav, lying. Rechilut, tail bearing. Achilat ha'isur, right? Eating things that are prohibited. Be'ilot asurot, being engaged in forbidden intimate sexual relations. Shvichut damim, murder. V'harbei kazeh, and many such things. And that's all very well defined. And then the next category we'll have to see next week is the mutar, right? That which is allowed. And that he breaks down into three categories. What we need, more than what we need, less than what we need, right? And typically we have what we call the shvil hazahav, the golden path, that middle path. And even what we need certainly depends on the society that we're in. Certain people, what they need is minimal. Other people, what they need is yeah. Okay, we'll pick up that next week. We welcome Steve, and you're here, and your wife's name? Trudy.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so Steve is here. Visited last year for about a month, and this year for close to 2 months. So good.
Does
Welcome,
it
welcome.
already snow where you are?
Kathy, good seeing you.
We had one snow.
Oh, okay.
It's
That's a bad
been
day.
relatively mild.